Hey,
you look at
Justin,
it.
thanks for coming on. This is David here.
Yeah.
We were the ones talking back and forth here on
Hey, what's up,
Twitter.
David?
Question for you. I'm going to throw some stats at you. So,
Well, my favorite.
the Celtics are shooting more threes this year compared to last year, as we all know. So last year they shot 42 and a half, almost, we'll call it 43. And this year they're shooting about 48 a game. At one point it was like 51, but they've
Yeah.
gone away from it. It's now closer to 48. Last year, they were second in the NBA in three-point percentage at almost 39%. This year, they're at 36.7%, which is all the way down to 11th in the NBA. So basically, what this tells us is they're shooting more threes and making them at a slightly lower rate or less efficient from deep. This has obviously been a conversation that's been in the Celtics community the whole season, the NBA community the whole season. I think we're all kind of tired of talking about it, especially with the team that's on the verge of hitting 40 wins right after the All-Star break. But do these sort of numbers concern you at all? Is the eye test also important when thinking about these numbers, like watching the games as well? And then just one final stat. Of the 48 three-pointers that we take a game, 41 of them are considered good looks. So that's right around like 85, 90%. So what are your thoughts to this age-old question? Are the Celtics shooting too many threes? Are you fine with it? Do you think they're quality looks?
They're for the most part quality looks. They're not always quality looks. Some of them come late in the shot clock and they have to get them up. Others are heat checks, and some are bad pulls by Jason Tatum. He loves doing that. But for the most part, like you said, they're good looks. The numbers prove that. And the thing is with Celtics offense, it's not about generating threes. It's about generating 2-on-1 advantages and open looks. That's why it's all drive and kick. That's why Tatum and Brown drive and kicks. Someone is coming down to help. That means someone's open. So they're going to make that right pass and they're going to take the shot no matter what it is. As for the percentages, those are down partly because of the volume. When you're shooting more, you're not going to make them more. That's just how it is. That's how the three ball works. So that's part of it. And also the percentages tanked a little bit through their 20 game stretch where they were 10-10. They couldn't hit a shot for 2 months. So the percentages went down big time there. So I think the percentages will eventually even out at what they got 27 games left. So not a whole lot of time to get them back up, but they'll eventually kind of even out similar to what we saw last year. But they're going to be a tick down because they had a 20 game stretch where they weren't great. And they also just shoot more threes. And that's naturally going to bring the percentage down.
Do you think through that 20 game stretch, there was like a complacency factor in their shot selection? Like, because you said a majority of them are good shots. You don't think that through those 20 games there were a handful of them that you could pick out and be like, yeah, this is just them kind of not just going through the motions?
Oh, 100%. That whole 20 game stretch was them going through the motions, like right. Them just being lazy. I mean, I think back to that Atlanta game where Drew Holiday just imploded at the end of the game. Like, what the hell was that? Like, that's something is not going to happen when we get later on in the season. Like, that team they were lazy, they weren't focused, and they were. They paid the price for it. So, I mean, I think 100% there was complacency factor in the shot selection. There a complacency factor on the defense. And that's the thing is all the numbers with this team are kind of going to be skewed a little bit because they had a 20 game stretch where they weren't great, because that clocks out to what? Almost 20% of the season. So that's not going to 25%. So that's going to hurt them more.
Yeah, I think it'd be more concerning if the Celtics weren't taking these looks, especially coming out of this 20 game stretch where they previously went 10-10. I do, because it for me and if you watch the postgame shows, you know me, I'm usually probably pretty relaxed when it comes to talking about the 3-point shooting, because it's all about how they're generated. And if the ball is flowing and the offense is rocking, the driving kick, obviously we love the offense when you're able to play 5 out, but also Celtics are so good at throwing somebody in the dunker spot and allowing the wings to work. So if you're generating those good looks and the ball's touching the paint, and like Justin just mentioned, usually it's off a pick and roll from Tatum and Brown. They drive, they kick out. Usually a guy like Porzingis or Horford is at the top of the key or on the wing to knock down the three. Hell yeah, bombs away. I'm all for it. So it's definitely, you're going to get the heat checks. You're going to get the shot clock violations. It's more kind of, for me, like the ISO ball, kind of just nothing's really flowing in the offense. So let's just chuck up a three. That's a little different.
Right.
But when you're looking at that clip of, what did you say, David? 87, almost 90% good looks. Like
41 of 48 threes considered open a game.
You can't knock it. You can't knock 41 out of 48 open threes. And I'd be pretty ticked off if you weren't shooting them, in my opinion. If you're passing up those good looks, there's not a single guy on this team who can't make a three-pointer. There's really not. Like, they shoot them all day in warm-ups. Like, maybe Luke and Kata, they're not going to, primarily step behind the three-point line. But in reality, there's not a single guy on this roster who can't knock down the three-point shot. So if they're passing them up, and we talk about it with Sam Hauser all the time, who really had a slow start to the season, it's like, oh, are you concerned about Hauser? No, because shooters shoot. Whether they make or miss, they're going to keep shooting. And you're going to be a little bit concerned, like specifically with Hauser. I'd be more concerned. I'd be raising my eyebrow if Hauser was passing up those open threes, passing up those open shots. So for me, I'm not one bit concerned about the Celtics 3-point percentage. I'm not worried about, they're shooting a higher volume this year. Because you know what, that's just what it is. That's how the game is evolving. In the Celtics team, we know what they look like when they're knocking down that 3-point shot. But to Rob's point, it's kind of more, are you going to get complacent with it? Are you just going to throw them up there? That's when it gets a little bit frustrating. But 41 out of 48 open threes, give me a break. You can't complain about that.
If they don't shoot the threes, they're not going to play. That's part of the reason Xavier Tillman does not play, is because they kept finding him for open looks and he would not shoot them. Like that's a problem. The whole offense revolves around finding open looks. Doesn't matter who you are. If you have an open shot, take it. The math will even out. That's how the Celtics play basketball. And if you're not abiding by that, you're not going to play. So if there's an open shot, yes, they're going to take it 10 times out of 10 because that's just how they play. That is their formula.
As they should play. Why would you pass it up? Especially, I mean, we talk about a guy like Drew Holiday all the time, and like his 3-point percentage from the corner is split in half. It's 30%. And I'm kind of sitting here like, and I mentioned last year how it's like, oh, like the expectations are so up here with the Celtics team. You look at a guy like Drew Holiday shooting that corner three in the mid-30s this year. That's still not that bad, but last year he shot it historically well, upwards
62, I want to say. Yeah, 60%.
Guys, you've never seen that before. That's like 2K put up the sliders, open corner three, and he knocks it down like the Family Guy corner three glitch. Is what
I love that one. Every time they hit like 3 of those in the quarter, I put that video out. That's my
corner three.
Corner three. So that's what it is. It's just like, and now he shoots him, and if he misses, people are like, oh man, like it's like, no, this guy just shot 64% last year. Like, let him fly. You're open. That's the thing. I don't mind the 3-point shots. Maybe I get the old fashioned people want to hit the paint, but that's just not how
that's
today's
Kevin Hart.
That's who that is. That's terrible. But that's just not how the game is right now. And
right.
And if you're gonna hit the paint, it's most likely nowadays going to lead into a 3-point shot anyway. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.